In Chapter 9, we're going to talk all about square roots. We've done some stuff with square roots, but now we're going to do more. We're going to learn how to take square roots of numbers that aren't perfect squares. But in section 9.1, it's just going to all be perfect squares that are easy to do. So one thing that you should do is memorize all the perfect squares up to a certain point. So square root of 0 is 0. Square root of 1 is 1. Perfect squares. So square of 0 is 0. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36. 7 squared is 49. 8 squared is 64. 9 squared is 81. 10 squared is 100. 11 squared, 121. 12 squared, 144. 13 squared, 169. If you memorize these ones, then you should be pretty good. Also the multiples of 10. So we already have 10 squared is 100. 20 squared is 400. 30 squared is 900. 40 squared is 1600. When it's a multiple of 10, all you do is square the first digit and then put 2 zeros at the end. So 50 squared would be 2500, 2500. So knowing those is going to help you a lot. In this class, what we're going to do is if we have a squared, the square root of that is the absolute value of a. We're not going to deal with the negatives in this class, just the positives. And then as far as negatives go, if we have negative square root of x squared, that's going to be negative x. But if we have a negative square root of negative x squared, it does not exist. We're not going to deal with the imaginary numbers in this class. That's going to be in a future class. So for actual numbers here, if we have negative square root of 100, we're going to keep the negative on the outside, and square root of 100 is 10. But if we have square root of negative 100, that does not exist. So square root, or the negative on the outside of the radical, which is the square root sign, our answer is going to be negative. If there's a negative inside, no matter what's inside here, it's going to be does not exist for us. Okay, so as far as variables with exponents, if we have square root of x to the 4 is x squared. Square root of x to the 6 is x to the 3. Square root of x to the 8 is x to the 4. Square root of x to the 16 is x to the 8. So for these, whatever the exponent is, you take half of that, and that's what the square root is going to be. Also, when you take the square root of something, you do not put the square root sign anymore. It's basically like if you had 3 plus 4, that equals 7. You don't have to put the symbol anymore. The square root is the symbol. It means what you're doing to the number that you have there. And so here, square root of 16, even though the square root of 16 is 4, we don't put x to the 4, we put x to the 8. Because we're just doing half of what it is. Because remember, x to the 8 times x to the 8, which means x to the 8 squared is x to the 8 plus 8, which is 16, or if we did x to the 8 raised to the 2, which is squared, it's x to the 8 times 2, which is 16. So that's what it is we're doing. We're just going backwards now. So you're also going to have some questions that have both numbers and variables. So say we have 36, a to the 6, b to the 10. So we take the square root of 36, which is 6, square root of a to the 6, which is a to the 3, square root of b to the 10, which is b to the 5. Remember, square root just means what number multiplied by itself will get the number that's inside the square root sign. And that's why we can't have negatives inside there, because anything multiplied by itself can't be negative, because we have to have an odd number of negatives in there to get that.